The day they sent her away felt less like a journey and more like an execution. The truck rattled down the dusty road as villagers watched in silence, some with pity, others with cruel satisfaction. To them, she was not a person anymore, just a burden being removed, a punishment being delivered. An obese girl, unwanted, unloved, and deemed useless, handed over to a poor farmer as if she were a sack of grain or a broken tool. What none of them knew, what she herself could never imagine, was that the man they were humiliating her with owned thousands of acres of land, and that this punishment would quietly rewrite both their destinies forever. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and unexpected blessings, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel, because stories like this remind us that humanity still matters. She had grown up learning how to disappear without actually leaving. From a young age, her body became the reason people whispered, laughed, and judged before knowing her name. Every gathering felt like a courtroom, every glance a verdict. She learned to walk with her eyes lowered, shoulders rounded, as if trying to make herself smaller in a world that already thought she took up too much space. Her family loved her in the way people love responsibilities, not in the way they celebrate blessings. They fed her, clothed her, but never defended her. When neighbors mocked her, silence answered back. Over time, she began to believe what everyone else seemed so sure of, that she was a mistake that had somehow grown too large to hide. The village elders decided her fate on a hot afternoon, sitting under a tree that had witnessed countless judgments before. They spoke of tradition, honor, and consequences. They said her presence brought shame, that her appearance made marriage impossible, that keeping her at home was a burden no family should endure. The solution they agreed on was simple and cruel. She would be given to a poor farmer in a distant area as punishment for her family's supposed failures. In their minds, it was mercy disguised as discipline. To her, it was exile. The farmer's name was known only as a joke in the village. People said he was dirt poor, barely surviving on dry land, living alone because no woman would accept such a life. They laughed as they imagined her misery, picturing two unwanted souls trapped together. She heard the whispers as she was loaded onto the truck, carrying nothing but a small bundle of clothes and a heart heavy with fear. No one asked how she felt. No one asked if she agreed. Punishments, after all, do not require consent. The journey seemed endless. Dust coated her face and hair, the sun burned her skin, and every mile felt like it was pulling her further away from anything familiar. By the time the truck finally stopped, she was numb. She stepped down slowly, her legs weak, expecting to see a broken hut, barren land, and a man hardened by poverty. Instead, she saw wide open fields stretching beyond the horizon, golden and green under the sky. The air smelled of soil and life. It confused her, but confusion quickly gave way to fear. Beautiful places could still hold ugly truths. The man who approached her did not look poor in spirit, even if his clothes were simple. His back was straight, his eyes calm, and his presence carried a quiet authority that did not need to announce itself. He did not stare at her body the way others always did. He did not smirk or sigh. He simply acknowledged her existence, as if she were normal, as if she belonged there. That small detail unsettled her more than cruelty ever had. Kindness felt dangerous when you were used to pain. Life on the farm began before sunrise. She expected ridicule, heavy labor meant to break her, and constant reminders of her place. Instead, she was given manageable tasks and patience. The land was vast, far larger than anything a poor farmer should own. Day by day, she noticed workers arriving from different directions, treating the farmer with respect that bordered on reverence. She overheard fragments of conversations about harvest schedules, equipment, and distant plots of land. Slowly, the truth began to surface, not through dramatic revelation, but through undeniable reality. This man was not poor. He was discreet. He owned land beyond what the eye could see, choosing simplicity over display. Still, her greatest struggle was not the work or the environment. It was the voice inside her head that repeated old insults. Every time she bent down to tend crops, she imagined people laughing. Every time she ate, guilt followed each bite. Years of shame had carved deep wounds, and no amount of open sky could instantly heal them. She avoided mirrors, avoided attention, and avoided hope. Hope felt like a trick that always ended in disappointment. The farmer never pressured her to change, never commented on her body, never treated her as a burden. That, in itself, began to change her. She started to feel useful, not as a punishment, but as a contributor. The land responded to care, and in caring for it, she felt something unfamiliar grow inside her, a sense of purpose. She began waking up with intention rather than dread. Her movements became steadier, her breath less labored, not because someone demanded it, but because life finally felt worth participating in. Seasons passed, and with them, subtle transformations took place. Her body began to change naturally, shaped by routine rather than shame. More importantly, her mind softened. She laughed at small things. She stood straighter. She allowed herself moments of pride when fields flourished under her hands. The farmer observed all this quietly, offering guidance when needed and silence when it mattered more. He understood pain that did not need words, because his own life had taught him the value of restraint and dignity. The village that once discarded her began to hear rumors. They spoke of the land's success, the farmer's influence, and the mysterious woman who worked beside him. Curiosity replaced cruelty. The same people who had condemned her now wondered if they had been wrong. But she no longer lived for their approval. The farm had become more than a place, it was proof that she was never the problem. The problem had been the narrow hearts that refused to see beyond appearances. One day, a delegation from the village arrived, their faces filled with forced smiles and uneasy respect. They spoke of reconciliation, of mistakes, of tradition misunderstood. They saw the vast land, the thriving operations, and the confidence in her posture. In that moment, power quietly shifted. The girl they had punished was no longer seeking acceptance. She had found something far greater, self-worth. The farmer revealed the truth then, not with arrogance, but clarity. He explained his choice to live simply, to let people underestimate him, to measure worth by work and character instead of noise. He spoke of how society often confuses humility with weakness and silence with insignificance. As he spoke, she realized the greatest gift he had given her was not land or shelter, but dignity. As the sun dipped low, casting golden light across the fields, she stood at the edge of the land and reflected on the journey that had brought her there. Pain had introduced her to this place, but purpose made her stay. She was no longer the obese girl sent away as punishment. She was a woman who had survived cruelty, grown through kindness, and discovered strength where the world said there was none. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that people are more than the labels placed on them, please take a moment now to like the video, share it with someone who needs encouragement, and subscribe to the channel for more stories that heal and inspire. Before this story ends, we have a special request for you. Comment below and tell us what part of her journey moved you the most, or share a moment when kindness changed your life. In the end, the field stood as silent witnesses to a truth the world often forgets. Punishment can become purpose. Shame can turn into strength. And sometimes, the places we are sent to break us become the very places where we finally learn who we are.